Good afternoon, good morning, good day, good evening, whatever it is where you are. I am here in beautiful, beautiful Nayarit, Mexico. Now, this is episode number 183 of live broadcast, and your powers are in your mind. That's what we're going to be talking about today. So, where do we begin on a subject like this? Let's begin actually with a bit of an introduction about your mind power. When you imagine something that you want in your life and you imagine it long enough, it will show up in your life. Now, here's the difference though, because if you imagine it, you can imagine all you want, but if you have doubt mixed in with it and you're imagining it as, and yet you don't actually see it in your mind, you don't clearly see that it's happening, then you might not have the mental power to actually, I'm saying the mental power, but what I mean is because you've got to have that connection with the life principle. What do I mean by life principle? Many people, especially in the religious circles, they call it God. And some people might even be kind of offended if if they're a Christian and I use this very watered down thing of calling it religion. It really doesn't matter much one way or the other. You can be Mennonite, you can be Baptist, you can be Pentecostal, you can be Catholic. It really doesn't matter. The name, it's just a name. It's just a name. It reminds me of a song, of an old country song that used to be sung by Carol Baker. Back when I was young, in my early 20s, she was a singer that I really liked at the time, and she sang that song, and she sang this song that said, sticks and stones can break your bones, but names can never hurt you. And I always thought, how true that is. We get so upset when somebody calls us something that we don't really like. But let's take a bit closer of a look as to what is going on the spiritual plane when you are at odds or when you are in doubt about anything in your life like that. All right. So when you're when you're a Christian, when you're a Christian and you are offended by somebody calling you a religious person or anything like that, doesn't really matter what it is. It's the very fact that you become offended. That is a clear sign of your spiritual weakness, your disconnection from the life principle, from God. And it's interesting if you're watching me right now, and you're probably, if you're a person who knows me well, you will also, if you've known me for a long time especially, you will known me to be a person with a very short temper, very short fuse. And this is something that I have, I've worked with this for many years, trying to, how should I say, working on yourself. Joseph Murphy uses a phrase that seems to be fitting here, and that says, he says, we don't need to work on conditions. We only need to work on ourselves. We don't need to work on conditions. Now, let me just show a little bit here what I'm talking about, and let's face it, one of the biggest things that we as people need in our lives is forgiveness. It's one of the biggest things in our life. Now, the title of this broadcast is "The Powers Are in Your Mind." Now, these powers that are in your mind, it really is completely irrelevant as to whether you use these powers for self-destruction or for, how should we say, self-elimination and building up yourself and your life and becoming meaningful, making your life more meaningful. And as a result, helping many other people. You see, your life can't be meaningful unless you are a blessing to others. Let me just say that again. Your life can't be meaningful unless you are a blessing to others. Now, if you were the only person in this world, you would have to, in order to be happy, you wouldn't be able to touch anyone else's life, obviously. And so you would still, in order to be happy, you'd have to bring out a happiness from within yourself. All happiness must come from within. You can't induce it from without. People all over the world, or at least here in the Western world, here in, well, in most, I would say in most of the world, people are looking for things outside of themselves to make them happy. Oh, if I had that truck, then I'd be happy. If I had you know, if I only knew how to play music, then I'd be happy. If I could, you know, if I made a certain amount of money, then I'd be happy. If things would just be easy for me, then I'd be happy. You know, if people on my team would at least get to work and do something, then I'd be happy. Looking for anyone, anywhere, any condition, any circumstance, anything else to make you happy, even if it did for a bit, it wouldn't last. It wouldn't last because happiness doesn't come from the outside. Doesn't come from there. Your powers are in your mind. That's where your powers are. It is impossible for you to go through a day where you do not create. Unless, of course, you're in a coma. Then I guess you wouldn't be thinking at all. So in that case, yeah, you wouldn't be creating. But your thoughts are creative. Your thoughts create. If you go through life looking for other people to make you happy, you're going to be a very miserable person. Because happiness does not come from the outside. It must come from the inside. We are creators. This is why some people are very successful and others are not. But this is also why some people who aren't successful, all of a sudden, when they come to grips with who they are, when they come to understand where their powers are, they can change their mind and become successful. All of us have that possibility every day, all day long, where we have the possibility to change our mind. And sometimes it can be a single thought. It can be a single phrase that you hear from somebody else. Sometimes it can be just something that suddenly you understand. Sometimes it can be something that somebody says to, heck, maybe they're saying it to hurt you, and suddenly it hits home, and you have your first building block to start building the truth in your life. Let's talk about truth for a little bit. The Bible, which is the book that very many people have come to love and trust and believe in. Don't get me wrong. I believe very much of what's in the Bible. And I could go and do a series of broadcasts and prove to you why there are things in the Bible that I don't believe. But that's not for this broadcast. I believe the Bible has very many, very profound truths in it that are extremely helpful for us as people if we understand them. And if we misunderstand them and misuse them, they won't help us anything, and likely instead of helping, they will be part of that which keeps us in poverty and keeps us sick and keeps us from creating the life that we want for ourselves and for others. Because of our misunderstanding. Now, I mentioned before how that we can be connected to the truth, or should I say the life principle, or should I say God. Now, the Bible tells us that God is love. God is love. In the book of John, we read there that love is first pure. And let's talk about that for a wee bit as we make a discovery what truth really is. Because truth is the principle of life. It's the life principle that is in and through everything, living or not, visible or not. Now, you might wonder why I would mention something like this in this regard. But very simply, what is it that that a pineapple, it doesn't grow papaya. A cherry tree just doesn't grow bananas. It doesn't. You can look at it year after year, and if it produces any fruit, they're going to be cherries. Every year, you can count on it. They're always cherries. Why is that? The cherry tree does not have the capability of thinking about bananas. It doesn't have the capability of one day, most of the day, thinking about bananas, and then the next day, almost all day, it thinks about carrots. And then all of a sudden, one day, it clues in and says, oh, I'm a cherry tree. I should be thinking about cherries. The vibrations are locked in. Every different tree, every different fruit, everything. The vibrations are locked in with the connection through, how should we say it? Let's start at the fruit. Let's start at the cherry that hangs on that tree. Connected to a stem, connected to a twig, and eventually a branch, eventually the trunk of the tree. And where does that lead? Into what? The ground. The universal ground. Why is it that we sometimes call it Mother Earth? Why is it that the invisible vibratory field is called Father? Father Universe and Mother Earth together create that cherry that hangs on the tree. Because the cherry tree is grounded to Mother Earth, and through that stem holds the vibratory connection of cherry. cherry, all day long, cherry. It's the only vibration that is from the time of its blooming until it's a fully grown cherry, ready and ripened to either be picked or it's end up falling off. Drawing from the Father, universe, the vibrations into form that cherry that is hanging with connected to Mother Earth. Only with the vibration of cherry. If you as a person tune in your mind into a, let's stay with cherries. Why shall we? Why wouldn't we? Since we're on the subject, since we already use cherries, you could be locked up. You could be locked up in prison for that matter. And there in prison, you begin in your mind to envision enjoying walking around in your very own cherry orchard, loving and enjoying the fruit and seeing the blossoms. And if you spend enough time being tuned into that vibratory force, into that vibration that you own and enjoy walking around in your orchard, you will walk around in that orchard even if you had been locked up for life. The vibratory force, the Father, will release you and you will be in your orchard enjoying the fruit that you so loved in your mind. It is not possible for anything to hold you back. When you are locked in to that vibration. This is why bananas always produce bananas. Carrots always produce carrots. Because the vibrations never change. They can only attract the one vibratory force, the one vibration from the Father universe. Any person, let me actually use another portion of scripture. Because Jesus said, if you remain in me and I in you, if you remain in me and I in you, to the end, to the end. What end? Until you have what you asked for. You have to remain in that. You've got to keep in that vibration. Oh, thank you for tuning in, Jacob. Appreciate it. So this is why most people, whether it's in TBC or wherever it is, our mind is not tuned. We are not sticking with one vibration. We're all over the place. And therefore, the mind or the Father can't really give us what we want because we're not sticking with anything until He has granted it. All things work the same way. Everything works the same way. At first, it's only a thought. After it's a thought, it becomes physical. Now, for those of you who are in TBC and you've not been able to create the cash flow you want, you haven't been able to refer people as you want, it is because you must stay locked in on a vibration. You must stay locked in every day, every day, every day, every day, every day, every day. That is how the universe will literally supply you with your needs. Because you can't have doubt. You can't have doubt in your mind about it. Because as soon as we doubt, and as soon as we believe and looking, as soon as we, should I say, disbelieve, and we're waiting and we're looking for other people to make things happen, nothing's going to happen. Nothing's going to happen. So, TBC has made it ever better and better and better for us to create cash flow. Easier and easier. I don't know if I really want to use the word easier here because they have provided better and better tools. But as to whether it's easy or whether it's hard or difficult, that all depends on how you think. Because there is nothing that can stop you from thinking the way you want to think. And the Father, from where all things come from, doesn't make any influence on how you think. He only provides you with the way you think. And if you think lack, you think limitation, you think hardships, you think difficult, that's exactly what you will have. If you think easy, and you keep thinking about the solution, completely walk away from thinking about the problem. Only solution. Only tune in to the solution. It's not very hard to figure out what the solution would be. Let's say you want to, make, I don't know, $100 a day, for instance. Well, then lock in on that vibration. That I make $100 a day. I am looking, I am thinking about that solution, and I'm staying locked into it until I make that. And so you can start thinking, how many people do I need to refer? What is it that needs to happen? And then you start thinking, okay, one way or another, I'm going to make this happen. And as you keep thinking about the solution, you'll be amazed at how many lives you're going to end up touching in order to have happen in your life what you want to have. We're not made to do it alone. We are made to interact and to create a pleasant vibration to other people. And in return, we help each other. Okay, so in closing, I want to talk just a little bit about what the TBC has provided. You know, In the earlier part of TBC, many of us, we were actually quite confused about what TBC was really, what TBC really was. First of all, we had our price based, sort of tied to a type of, how should I say, to the wrong frequency, which has been changed. Now it's a grain of gold. It's a grain of gold for every member who joins the TBC community. It adds a grain of gold to the price of the coin. Now the TBC, we're not a currency with a mission. We are a mission with a currency. And that mission we will fulfill. In order to fulfill that, we need to understand why we're here. We need to understand what our mission is, and we need to understand what the currency is that is attached to our mission. We need to understand that. And I think that many people have really, really massively underestimated what TBC really is. And they still don't have an understanding of it. So now that we have even more tools than we had before, we have those of us who are in TBC, we can contact a lot of the TBC people that were in TBC earlier already. And, perhaps we can develop enough of a relationship with them that we can help them to understand what TBC is, that it is a mission with a currency, which has its price pegged to the price of gold. TBC now has very, very good tools, especially the 2448 strategy that they've shown in the Kringle.cashback office. I think those are awesome tools. Now, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, you see, it may take a bit for you if you want to use the power of thought, which I kind of explained in this broadcast. If you want to use the power of thought in order to really help yourself to create the wealth in your life that you want, if you would like more details and you have questions on how to use it better, contact me, please. Contact me. I will be happy to help you in whatever it is exactly that you need, because we all differ. None of us are the same. In a sense, we're all the same, but on the other hand, we all have our own, how should I say, our own DNA, which means that the thing that might work very well for me might not work for you. The thing that might work very well for you is probably not really that great for your, for a person that you refer or something. We can all have the same tools, but we all think our own way. And therefore, like I said, if you need help, if you would like a bit deeper of an understanding on how the power of thinking can help you, then please contact me. You can do so through the links that are in the description, and I'd be happy to hear from you. All right? So, with that said, I think I'm going to close this then. If you're not in TBC yet, and you want to know more about it, again, there's links in the description. You can also feel free to contact me. I'd be happy to help you. And with that said, I'm going to wish you a wonderful, wonderful day. And pardon? Okay. Oh, thank you for Lutfer. Thank you very much for joining me here. I appreciate it, brother. I love that. I love that when we call each other brothers and sisters. I love that. That's awesome. I mean, after all, we all have the same Father. We all have the same Father. Thank you very much for joining me here. I appreciate it. And this morning, I would have done my broadcast this morning, but we had no internet connection this morning. So that's why it took longer. So, or that's why I did it later. So if all works well, I will be doing it tomorrow morning. All right. Thank you so much. And you have a wonderful day. Peace.